Hi all, so just a brief update on what's happening with me in my life. I have actually managed to read another set of Russian fairy tales, Kolobok, and turns out that this is a really popular fairy tale in Russia. I actually didn't know, but it's always the same. What happens when something comes into your life, you just start realizing that it's everywhere. Like if I were to mention a red Ford Fiesta, suddenly you go around and you start seeing red Ford Fiestas everywhere where you never realized them before. I've lived in Russia for 6 years and I've never heard about this story, Kolobok, and picked this up from the library and read it. So it's about a rice cake that an old lady bakes because her husband wants her to bake a rice cake. She bakes the rice cake, puts it on the windowsill to cool, and it decides that it's had enough of the windowsill and it rolls off. And then it, let me just check here, because I can't remember what comes first. So there's a rabbit that comes first and says, "I'm going to eat you." And it sings a song and rolls away. Then there is a wolf that says the same thing and it sings a song and rolls away. Then there's a bear that says the same thing and it sings a song and rolls away. And then finally there's a fox and it sings a song, but the fox is cunning and sly and manages to manipulate Kolobok to sit on the fox's tongue, after which Kolobok is eaten. And that's the end of the story. Depressing and unhappy ending, no doubt. But I was thinking about this, and what end could it possibly come to? It was a rice cake. It is designed to be eaten. It has inspired me to write my own story called, which I was originally going to call Klubnichka, which means little strawberry. But it turns out that Klubnichka, in Russian, little strawberry, actually has a sexual meaning. And Klubnichka in Russian means porn. So if you say, "Я хочу клубничку," which means I want a little strawberry, it actually means I want to watch porn or participate in something sexual. So I decided better not call the story Klubnichka, better call it Zemlyanichka, which means little wild strawberry, because in Russian they differentiate between Klubnichka, which is little strawberry, and which is grown strawberry, like you grow in a farm in a strawberry field, and wild strawberries, which are different actually, and they grow in the wild. They're smaller and I think they're not as smooth on the outside, which is interesting to know, because in English you say strawberry and wild strawberry, and in Russian they're considered different berries. They're not called strawberry, they're called Zemlyanichka, which is Zemlyanichka, like earthberry, and Klubnichka, which is strawberry. So there you go. So I decided to call the story that I wrote Zemlyanichka, wild strawberry. Kind of the same theme. It was really based on Kolobok, inspired by Kolobok. Little strawberry there is growing and the wind blows it away, and it follows the same journey as Kolobok, in the sense that it rolls down into a river, floats along the river, and I won't tell you, but it has. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because I wrote it down. What I'm planning to do is translate it into Russian and then illustrate it, and I'll have the English version printed. Maybe I haven't figured out the format yet, but the book will contain both the English version and the Russian version, and then there'll be my illustrations there too with it, and hopefully I'm going to self-publish that, and then I'm going to offer it for sale on this channel And if you want to purchase it, you absolutely can, and that would help me out as a writer. So that's going to come in the future. I really like the story. The Zemlyanechka, Wild Strawberry. I went through it with my Russian teacher, and she said, "Well, you should add some meaning in here because you should make people who read it learn a lesson." And I said, "Well, you know what? I'm happy with the story. It is just a story. Inevitably, when you write something, it does contain your own psychological issues because as a writer, you just can't write something that is unbiased with regards to yourself. So yeah, my psychology is inevitably in the story. However, I haven't deliberately intended it to have any meaning whatsoever. It is just a story which I have enjoyed writing, and I will enjoy illustrating, and potentially you will enjoy reading. Possibly I will put some of my own psychology in my later stories, but as for this story, it is literally just a nice, entertaining story." So, yeah, it has a happy ending, which is what I wanted to say, which is what Kolobok does not have. And that really possibly is the meaning, that actually Kolobok gets eaten at the end. You go, oh, he ends up being eaten. So I did think, well, how can we make that into a happy story? So I've done that with Wild Strawberries and Janishka. I won't tell you what happens in the end because, well, it doesn't get eaten. It grows into a plant. It ends up being planted, not eaten. It escapes all of the bullies, all of the potential predators, eaters of the berry, and at the end a little girl comes to find the strawberry, and she picks it up and plants it, and it grows into a wonderful strawberry plant. So it does have a happy ending. I hope I didn't spoil the ending of Zemlyanechka for you, but anyway, it's supposed to be an enjoyable read, so even if you know the ending, you will still enjoy the process of reading it. And looking at the pictures, hopefully. So, what else is in here? We have Seraya Sheikha, which is a story about a fox and a bird with a broken wing. That's a lovely, beautiful story, really. I really enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed reading it. So, yeah, Seraya, if you read Russian, Seraya Sheikha. I don't know what Sheikha means, but Seraya I think is grey, so it's like grey bird, maybe. Grey duck, or something. Zhiravushka, which is about a crane, the bird, a crane, which transforms into a girl. That's an interesting one. Seraya Sheikha. There's also Lisa Idrojd, which I mentioned was Lisa Idrojd is I know what Drojd is. It's a type of bird. I can't remember which one, but it's fox and bird. And Seraya Sheikha is about a bird with a broken wing, and a fox wants to eat her. So I noticed that in Russia, as Russian fairy tales, they usually use foxes as villains. It's a common theme that a fox is sly and cunning. So not sure, because I haven't read enough English fairy tales to understand, but a lot of those were from the Grimm brothers, and obviously they're quite morbid, like in the sense that, you know, there's a lot of death and eating and cannibalism and in there. I don't know, Russian fairy tales have the same thing, I guess, but they're not as grim as the fairy tales by Grimm's brothers. You know, like the grandma gets eaten by a wolf in Little Red Riding Hood. So no people actually get eaten. Not that I've read so far from Russian fairy tales. Nobody has actually been eaten like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood does actually eat the grandma. But there you go. So I just get a better feeling from Russian fairy tales than I ever have from reading the Grimm's brothers. I can remember reading like Grimm or hearing Grimm's brothers fairy tales when I was younger and going, this is horrific, and not enjoying fairy tales. But when I'm reading Russian fairy tales, I'm like, these are really enjoyable. They were just kind of nice stories. Like Sarah Shaker's is about a bird who is being hunted by a fox, but it's a happy ending. And the fox is not such a terrible villain. So that inspired me to write one about a fox, which I have done. We're getting to 10 minutes now, so I must finish. Żuravushka, I think, has inspired me to write a transformation story about a boy who can transform into a duck. And Smarodinka is about... This is kind of like a Rapunzel story. It's about but it's not really, but a beautiful, really beautiful girl gets locked in a room, and a prince sees her and wants to marry her, and goes through the trials and tests to let the father, the king. I haven't read it that many times. I need to read that one again. But it's a nice tale about the girl. She's transformed in. She distracts basically the young prince. She's a distraction to the young prince. So she gets sent away to the country and turned into a lizard. But he still somehow, by fate, comes across her again and ends up saving her and turning her back into a beautiful bride. As a happy ending, they end up marrying because the prince, the lizard who is Smarodinka, helps the prince perform all his tasks, please the king, in which case the king is satisfied and allows his son to marry the woman who he originally thought was a distraction to the prince. Something like that. I'll read it again. But that's it. This is the only video I'm going to make about this book. I will make another video about this one and speak a little bit about these fairy tales. And so, yeah, just to finish, I wanted to say that yes, I'm still committed to learning Russian and reading in Russian. And yes, these are fairy tales at the moment. As my Russian gets better, I will hopefully be uploading some more videos about books that are not fairy tales. So, stick with me and leave a comment in the video below. Let me know what I can do. If you've got any questions, if there's things that you want to know about me, my life, my reading, what I'm writing, and just in general, just post your comments, random as they are, and I will reply. So, cool. Thanks for watching. Keep reading. See you later.